Hello and welcome to Datacolor's 2014 webinar series. I'm David Tobey, Product and Technology Manager for the Spyder line of products. I'm here with David Saffer, assisted by Patty Shank, our Marketing Manager, and we are all excited today because we have a new product that we have just announced and released, the SpyderCHECKR 24. So while this webinar is about capture tools in general, what we'd like to do is introduce the SpyderCHECKR 24 and relate it to the existing SpyderCHECKR. A lot of people have questions about the relationship of the two, and relate it to the Spyder Cube since it's more of a portable tool and therefore overlaps more with the Spyder Cube's line of work. Now the biggest thing about the SpyderCHECKR 24 is the price. This is the first spectrally formulated pigment target that is being sold for the kind of price. This is under $50 US list price. So this is a new price point for a professional pigment target. You can buy a lot of targets out there, but most of them are photo process or inkjet process. What a target needs to be a professional photo target is made out of pure pigments in a very matte format. Gloss and luster are not acceptable surfaces for shooting photo targets. So there are very few targets that meet those criteria, and this is really the first mainstream professional target that is under $50. So we believe that this will do very, very well for a lot of uses. I'll let David Saffer tell you about some of those uses and some of the relationships between the SpyderCHECKR 24 and its bigger brother, the SpyderCHECKR, when we get going on the body of the webinar here. I just wanted to mention that that this is a brand new product, and we're very excited about it, and therefore we have planned to spend a good chunk of today's webinar going over the features of this product and how to use it. This all relates to all SpyderCHECKR usage, however, and we'll have several slides on Spyder Cube as well so that you can see the relationship between white balance work done with the Cube versus that done with a Checker and so on. So without further ado, I'll introduce David Saffer, a professional photographer from Southern California, an author, a general expert in our field, and he's been working with me on these webinars for a couple of years now and has put together a lovely presentation on the SpyderCHECKR, which I'm hoping you'll all enjoy. Now, before we start, I'd like to request that you bring your GoToWebinar control panel to the front where you can see it, and that you open up the section on chat or questions so that you can yeah, there we go. There are a couple of questions in there already. So with the question section, if you ask a question, I will be able to see it, and I will be able to answer it in real time as the webinar progresses. So I'll be typing away madly here in the background as David Saffer is speaking to you in the foreground. So thank you all for attending, and thank you, David, for presenting today.
Thanks for that nice introduction, David. It's good to be back. Thanks, everybody, for attending this webinar. It's one of a continuing series. I want to mention that we have a giveaway of a SpyderCHECKR 24 at the end of this session, but you have to be present to win. I also want to mention that this webinar will be recorded, so don't feel like you have to scribble down notes frantically. We do publish each webinar on our website. You can watch that at your leisure. We do get a lot of traffic on those, and people take advantage of it, which is a good thing. So without further comment, I'm going to get started. We're going to talk about the SpyderCHECKR 24 and beyond, and this will be about camera color tools and software for photo and video. Now, this is a brand new product. It's a color targeting software. It's the newest addition to the Datacolor toolbox, and it's used for camera color correction for still photo and video. That's an important distinction. Datacolor has been working very hard to add to the toolbox for video shooters, for videographers. I think we've been pretty successful with that. We're going to continue to do that, and this product is particularly suitable for that purpose. The SpyderCHECKR 24 helps you capture consistent color from day to day, which means changing lighting conditions or changing circumstances in terms of your camera setups, and from camera to camera. Now, what does that mean, camera to camera? That means if you're working a set and you've got more than one capture device running, let's say you're shooting video, just for example, and you have a 5D Mark III and you have a pocket cinema camera, and you have a GoPro. Each one has its own color signature, and you want to normalize that color signature before you start post-production. That makes things a lot easier, either for yourself or a colorist, to harmonize the colors and merge those video streams in a way that's pleasing and workable. Now, the SpyderCHECKR 24 offers many of the same features and benefits of its larger sibling, the 48-patch SpyderCHECKR. It eliminates a hard shell case. Instead, it has a polymer sleeve. And the workflow is very easy. You can use the output from this in Adobe Photoshop, Lightroom, Hasselblad Focus, and DaVinci Resolve 11. If you use the SpyderCHECKR, you're going to benefit from optimized color and workflow and output. And it makes as I said before, it makes post-production much quicker by giving you consistent, predictable color right from the start. Now, why would you want to calibrate your camera? I mentioned that before. And look at the diagram on the lower right. This is a simple lens. It only has a few lens elements, but you can also see that for a so-called simple lens, there's a fair amount of complexity. Each lens is different. The coatings differ, the types of materials differ, the arrangement of the glass elements differs, and so each lens and camera has its own unique color signature. That means that normalizing color between cameras really requires some professional level tools. And you can use this for color control for a single camera, in other words, from shoot to shoot or in different lighting conditions, or you can use the SpyderCHECKR to normalize color between multiple cameras. And it gives you better color accuracy on set and in post-production. Now, the intended uses of the SpyderCHECKR, there's several. As I mentioned already, as a camera calibration tool. It can be used to set up in-camera white balance for still in motion, and we'll talk more about that a little bit later on. I find it's very useful as a reference target for catalog work or fine art reproduction. In fine art reproduction, I'll give you a good example. I always make it a point to have a checker chart in one of the early shots in the sequence. Because when I'm looking at the output with a customer, I have a reference. I can show them the checker chart, the SpyderCHECKR, in the frame with the artwork, and we can compare the color, the reference color on the SpyderCHECKR chart to the image and say, oh yes, that red really does look red and that green really does look green, and so we're in a good spot now to continue with post-production. There isn't a lot of argument or discussion about what's right and what's wrong in terms of the color characteristics of the image. You can also use it as simply as a gray reference. For example, you can take a photograph of the gray panel, display it on screen to check your display calibration. So there's a number of ways you can use this. Some of the potential users for this are still photographers. Those of you who are in still photography that are transitioning to video, videographers, cinematographers, video editors and colorists, DITs and DPs. In fact, I was just at a meeting where the digital imaging technologists made up the majority of the audience, and they were really quite interested in this product because they knew that when they're working on set and they're working with a bunch of different types of equipment, that it will help them, harmonize all those different elements and make the output just that much better. Now, of course, this is a sibling to the 48-patch SpyderCHECKR. The workflow summary takes a little bit of practice, not a lot, but it's very straightforward. You'll photograph the color face of the SpyderCHECKR 24. You'll import that image into a supported image editor for basic adjustments. You'll open the image in the SpyderCHECKR software and straighten it out and crop it a little bit, and you'll export the HSL preset. Now that preset can be used, for example, in Lightroom or in Adobe Camera Raw. And you can also use the gray face, which can provide in-camera and post-process white balance and exposure adjustments. So, for example, you could use the gray face with the white balance eyedropper to color balance a photo. Or you can use that gray face to white balance your video camera or your still camera. Just to give you an example of that, we were working with the Canon C300, and we were in an an environment. This was at NAB earlier this year, and it was a horribly mixed lighting environment, and it has a single button white balance on the camera. And I simply held the SpyderCHECKR target in front of it and pushed the white balance button, and voila, it was finished. Let's talk a little bit about features and benefits. It's no accident you see all these cameras on the right-hand side. And again, I want to emphasize that you can use the SpyderCHECKR to provide good color control for just about any camera that's out there. We've got a GoPro, all the way from a GoPro to a very high-level Canon to mid-level DSLRs that also shoot video. It enables the user to quickly create custom camera calibrations, and that compensates for the unique characteristics of sensors and lenses in their own combinations. It can be used for individual cameras or a collection of cameras on set. And again, it's integrated with the 48-patch SpyderCHECKR software. So if you buy the SpyderCHECKR 24, you have the option of adding the SpyderCHECKR 48 to your toolbox as well. The software will handle both. Now, the patches are composed of pigment-based colors. They have carefully formulated spectral characteristics with a matte surface. And as David mentioned before, that particular constellation of characteristics is very important. Pigment-based colors, spectrally formulated. What that means to you is that you will get correct color information back from the target in any lighting condition. So if you have mixed artificial lighting, you have natural and artificial lighting together, or you're shooting in daylight, you'll get the correct color information coming back to the camera, which will make your calibration accurate. The patches are durable. They're produced at close tolerances. If you own a SpyderCHECKR 24 in normal usage, it should last almost forever. Now, these represent the standard 24 colors that are used in a variety of color products. They're pretty much within the sRGB color gamut, so there's no danger of clipping or being outside gamut when you're trying to create this calibration. And that assures usability with a wide range of capture, display, and output devices. The SpyderCHECKR 24 uses Datacolor's award-winning software. Now, this delivers a very robust HSL calibration. It provides 24-point color control, and that's head and shoulders above competition. The typical competitive software gives you 3 to 6 points of control versus 24. So inherently, you're going to get a better result with the SpyderCHECKR 24 or the SpyderCHECKR 48 software. I'm going to give you a few tips on how to set this up, and then we're going to dive into the details of workflow. Now, when you open the SpyderCHECKR software, you're going to see this pop-up screen. And very simply, the red circle around the important part, you can change between 24 and 48 patch target modes in SpyderCHECKR Preferences. So if you go to SpyderCHECKR Preferences, you're going to see this screen. And you'll see down on the lower left, right now it says SpyderCHECKR 48. If I hit this blue part of the button, it would drop down and give me a choice for SpyderCHECKR 24. And as a side light, you can also use this panel to set the default locations for your HSL presets for the other applications that you might be using, such as Lightroom or Adobe Camera Raw or Hasselblad Focus. So if you choose SpyderCHECKR 24, this is the screen that you're going to see. So I just thought I'd show you just how easy it is to use this software for either the 24 patch or 48 patch product. It's really quite easy, very straightforward, and we'll move right on to the workflow. So in terms of workflow, here's what you'll be doing. You're going to create a properly exposed capture of the SpyderCHECKR 24. Now, I'm probably going to wind up repeating this, but this is a critical issue. It has to be lit by a single light source at about 45 degrees, and it should be lit evenly from corner to corner and top to bottom. You don't want to see any shiny spots, hot spots, shadows, things like that. It's one of the advantages of having a target with larger patches is that it's quite easy to see what you're doing. You can see whether there's any flaws in your lighting and make sure that it's absolutely even. That gives you the best set of calculated values for your HSL preset calibration. So keep that in mind when you're lighting a target. If the target isn't evenly lit, it's probably going to skew your results. Very easy to light it. It's not a problem. You just have to pay a little bit of attention to it. And then you'll be able to create your preset for Lightroom or Photoshop, Adobe Camera Raw, or Hasselblad Focus, or import it directly into DaVinci Resolve 11, which is a video editing application. What you'll need a SpyderCHECKR 24 target with the color faces exposed. You need the software installed in your computer and, of course, activated with your serial number that's included with the product. You'll need one or more cameras that shoot stills, and RAW is preferred. An application that supports HSL presets, again, the usual list of suspects that I just mentioned. And again, a single light on a standard support at 45 degrees to the target. It won't hurt to mention again, you've got to get the lighting right on this particular item to make it work. You can also use daylight. That great big softbox in the sky works just fine. And you'll need a table, a stand, or an easel. Makes it easier to keep the SpyderCHECKR straight and level for the best result. So you can see this photograph on the right. We're in the middle of setting up the SpyderCHECKR 24 to calibrate this particular camera. You're going to set up the camera and the target, and you're going to take a raw image, that's preferred, of the target, and import it into your image processor and crop and balance and adjust per our product instructions. And I'll get into that in detail in just a minute. I want to mention something, is that in addition to lighting it evenly, I want you to make sure that when you photograph this, that it's like shooting artwork. You want to have the sensor of the camera and the plane of the SpyderCHECKR in parallel. That you want the center of the axis of the lens to be pointed right at the middle of the SpyderCHECKR, and you want to make sure that one is parallel to the other. That makes it certain that you're going to get the correct dimensions on the image when you import it into the processor. You're going to, once you get it into the image processor and crop and balance it, you're going to export or trigger the SpyderCHECKR software and process a preset for Camera Raw, Lightroom, or Focus. Here's a tip for Lightroom. This is something that happens quite a bit. I also am involved in technical support. In your preferences for Lightroom, be sure to save your presets separately from your catalogs. And this is true for any of your presets if you want to use them in all of your Lightroom catalogs. If you don't do that, you may open a particular catalog and not be able to see the presets. It's easy enough to fix if you don't have it set up that way, but just take note of that for you Lightroom users. You can also use the color panel size of color reference chart, which I mentioned before, and you can use the SpyderCHECKR for in-camera white balance. Use the flip side gray target panels, and again, there'll be more on this later. So you're going to download your target shot and open in Lightroom, Camera Raw, or Focus as you would with any raw image, and you're going to crop it. For the SpyderCHECKR, for the SpyderCHECKR 24, you're going to crop to inside the black border. See where my mouse cursor is going? Right inside the black border. No background showing beyond the target. You can use the rotate function of the crop tool and straighten it out. And then what you're going to do is you're going to create a basic white balance for this, and any of the light or medium gray patches can be used. So you would go and get your white balance tool. Here's the one in Lightroom. You can see it's the white balance selector. Now, I think it's a little quirky, but this is the way the nomenclature, the vocabulary that gets used. Oh my gosh, sorry about that. I thought my phone was turned off. Now it is. And you would use that typically on the 20% gray patch. And you would use it in the upper tool palette in Adobe Camera Raw. So there's a similar tool for that. In Camera Raw, it's on the upper left in the Camera Raw panel. Now you're going to look at the RGB values or percentages of the white patch, and you're going to adjust the exposure slider until the white patch lists as approximately 90% in Lightroom, or a combined RGB value of 230 in Adobe Camera Raw. If you're using Adobe Camera Raw, select the Color Sampler tool and place a sampler target on the white patch. That makes it easier to see what you're doing. And again, adjust the exposure so the combined RGB sample reads 230. In Hasselblad Focus, same thing. Mouse over the white patch to read the RGB values and adjust to 230. Next, you want to check the black patch. The blacks adjustment, or in some cases the shadows adjustment, is used to set the black value to about 4% in Lightroom, or the RGB value average 10 in Adobe Camera Raw. Now, if you find the value is below this level, you have a choice. You can leave it as shot or reshoot it with slightly brighter illumination. That's a judgment call. In Focus, again, you would measure and adjust to RGB average 10. Now, I just want to remind you that this particular section has a little bit of complexity to it. We are recording the webinar, so you can refer to it at a later date. Now, in terms of your workflow, again, I'm just going to repeat, crop and rotate the image to contain only the SpyderCHECKR. This is for Adobe Camera Raw. You can export the image in TIFF format and 16-bit color depth, or click on Open an Image Editor to open the resulting file in the SpyderCHECKR software. If you're using Adobe Camera Raw and you want to save the image, you can save it to the desktop or another location that you know you can find it. And again, it's a high-bit file. TIFF is good in Adobe RGB. Focus also allows direct triggering of the SpyderCHECKR app if you pre-configure it as an editing app. The SpyderCHECKR will also launch if you set it up correctly in Lightroom, and then it opens your target with the image already imported into the SpyderCHECKR application. Choose Edit a Copy with Lightroom presets. That assures that your white balance and exposure adjustments are carried over in the exported file. If you don't do that, you're going to get it without the adjustments. In Adobe Camera Raw, go to the SpyderCHECKR Applications folder and double-click on the SpyderCHECKR app, and it'll launch itself. And then you'll have to drag your target file from the desktop into SpyderCHECKR to import it. If you captured your image and cropped appropriately, the sampling square should already be in the right place, in the right patches of your target shot. Now, if you look at this carefully, you can see the sampling squares right here. And you can move this around so that they're squared away. It's really quite easy. That's what these handles are for. And you can drag on any edge or corner of the image area to do that. But you do want to make sure that they're pretty close to the center so that the software will calculate your preset correctly. Now, one of the first things you want to do before you go further is you want to set your rendering mode. Typically, you're going to start with colorimetric. That should give you a good result. And then you're going to click on the Save Calibration button, which is right here on the lower right. You can see where my mouse cursor is. And you will have selected already Adobe Camera Raw, Lightroom, or Focus, and you're going to be prompted to name it. It's a good idea to give these specific names, include the camera name. You might want to include the lens that you used and the light source and the date, because as you go forward, you're going to want to be able to differentiate between them effectively. Just a sip of water. Okay, and here's what it looks like in Camera Raw and in Lightroom. When you want to use your preset, here it is in Presets, the Presets panel in Lightroom. Just like any of your other presets in your user presets, it's going to show up. Again, remember the comment I made before about the catalogs. In Adobe Camera Raw, on the basic part of the panel, there's that hatch mark that's on the upper right. If you right-click on that, you'll see Apply Preset, and you'll have a drop-down of presets off to the right or the left, depending on how much room you have. By the way, I didn't mention this. Once you've generated the preset, you have to restart your image editing application. So you have to restart Lightroom or Focus or Adobe Camera Raw and select an image that you want to apply the preset to. And you can apply that to multiple images. You can open multiple images in Camera Raw, as we all know. Same thing in Lightroom, same thing in Focus. And you can apply the preset as needed. So for example, if you created a preset for a shoot, You can apply it to all the images in the shoot. It's a very efficient way to normalize the color for all the images in that set. Now, very briefly for Hasselblad Focus, you want to go to the Focus Preferences General Image Editor Select menu, and you're going to navigate to and select the SpyderCHECKR app in the SpyderCHECKR folder in your computer. In the Mac, it's in the Applications folder, and on Windows, it's typically in Program Files Datacolor folder. To use the SpyderCHECKR plugin with Focus, set the Focus Image Editor preference to the SpyderCHECKR application in the Datacolor folder. Now, as I mentioned before, you can simply use the SpyderCHECKR chart as a white balance or gray balance tool. And at a basic level, any of these medium gray patches can be used, but the 20% gray patch is recommended. Again, use the white balance selector tool and click on the desired gray patch. Let's talk for a minute about video. It produces SpyderCHECKR produces color correction presets for a number of applications. And that, of course, includes Lightroom, Camera Raw, and Focus. It can be used directly in DaVinci Resolve 11. Now, these presets are typically applied to still images, but many of these image editors can also be used for video. So, for example, Lightroom and Photoshop, a lot of people don't know this, can be used to catalog, clip, and even make basic adjustments to video. And you can use your SpyderCHECKR presets to correct color for your video cameras. And that includes adjusting video for different types of cameras. So if you have a GoPro or a Blackmagic or even a Canon 5D Mark III, you've got output from those. You can use these HSL presets to normalize your camera capture. That'll save you time in post-production. It'll save money if you have to pay. If you've been paying a colorist, it will save money with your colorist. And it is possible to apply an existing SpyderCHECKR preset from a still image, but a lot of the time that's going to be a raw file. And of course, we all know that video captured by a lot of these cameras is a compressed video codec. You're better off shoot the SpyderCHECKR target in a video clip to capture the actual video workflow for color correction. So the resulting preset can be applied to a frame and select that frame or a still image or one or more video clips and use the sync settings button to apply the color corrections to the video clips. This dialog box shown below will appear showing which of the Lightroom development settings might be applied to the video. Be sure the color adjustments box is checked so the HSL adjustments from SpyderCHECKR will be applied to the video clips. That's a critical point. Once you've done your color correction, they can be exported from Lightroom and processed in the video editing application that you use. Again, be sure to check the Include Video Files checkbox. Let's talk for a minute about another use for the SpyderCHECKR. SpyderCHECKR 24 or the 48 patch SpyderCHECKR have gray panels on the back, which is unique to products in this category. And if you look at this, you've got a gray ramp and you have a big gray panel. And just about any DSLR, for example, will allow you to set the white balance, and you can do this simply by pushing a button. You can see here on the left, incandescent flash, direct sunlight, and they have color temperatures assigned to them. Well, here's the problem. The color temperatures are static numbers. There's no in-betweens. So you have to get in the neighborhood when you're using this technique. It's much more accurate to have an exact color temperature. And so what you can do is set what's called a custom white balance. And on some cameras you have a white balance button. This includes both still and video cameras. And on some cameras you have a menu-driven feature. And either way, what you would do is you would set the camera up with that feature. You would more or less fill the frame with the gray panel, and then you would enable the custom white balance, and that will nail the color temperature for that lighting condition for you. Now, you could do that for each camera that you're going to be using, and that goes a long way towards normalizing color for post-production. So the output from the cameras will be much closer than if you hadn't done this. We also have a Spyder Cube. Now the Spyder Cube is a sort of a different breed than the SpyderCHECKR in the sense that it's intended for both. It is intended for studio and for field use, but it's a multi-purpose tool. It's got a very unique design. It's an advanced polymer. It's nearly indestructible, and as you can see, it's a 3D device. Now, that's one of the important things about this that I want to get into. You can see that, for example, one side of the Spyder Cube is more brightly lit than the other. And that's because one side is exposed to the primary light source and the other side is exposed to the secondary light source. So if you wanted to set your gray balance with the SpyderCHECKR, you would want to use your primary light source and you would click on the brighter side. Additionally, we have white patches and a black card, and you can just see it here on a lot of internet browsers. This black circle is very hard to see, but because the browsers kind of clip color. But we've got a black card, and then we have an absolute black trap. And what this allows you to do is set your black, white, and gray point, and I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. So you can use this tool to identify your primary light source, control your dynamics range from white to midtones to blacks very easily. I have one of these in every camera bag. Very simple example of setting gray or white balance. This happens to be Capture One, but of course this will work in any of the applications that we've talked about before. You grab the white dropper and you hit the brighter side of the SpyderCHECKR for your primary light source and color balance your image. And you can do that for all the images in the folder or all the images in the shoot that you took with the SpyderCHECKR in that lighting condition. Here's an example of how you could use a SpyderCHECKR taken. This is a commercial shoot that I did. The SpyderCHECKR is in the foreground. It's lit with all the same lighting that's being used for the main subject. And you can see here on the curves panel we have a white, gray, and black eyedropper, which means that I can set the white, black, and gray point for this image and very effectively control the dynamic range for that photograph from shadows to midtones to highlights. I can protect shadow detail, I can protect highlight detail, and I can get good midtone transitions. So this is a way to set the white, black, and gray points taking into account the light sources that you want to emphasize. Now, a few questions about the SpyderCHECKR. Some of the frequently asked questions that we hear. Some people ask, confused between the SpyderCHECKR 24 and the Spyder Cube. And that really depends, which one should I use on location? That depends on your location needs. If you need to set in-camera white balance or make images where precise color reproduction is important, then you want to reach for the SpyderCHECKR 24. That's your best choice. It's going to give you the degree of precision that you need. Let's say you're doing a product shoot. You're trying to hit packaging colors or spot colors, or you're in a photo shoot indoors in a group portrait, and you want to make sure that all of the color, not just the skin tones, is accurate. That would include clothing, decor, that kind of thing. And you may have a mixed lighting situation. I would go with the SpyderCHECKR 24. That'll put you in the best position to produce an optimum result. But if you need to capture primary and secondary light source information or set a primary light source based white balance, the Spyder Cube is the best tool. Now, in many cases, people use both. They will set the white balance, the primary white balance with the Spyder Cube so they get the primary light source, and then they will create an HSL preset with the SpyderCHECKR 24 to hone in on the best possible color. Now, some people already own a 48-pack SpyderCHECKR. Is there any reason to buy a new SpyderCHECKR 24? It's an affordable location target. It's more portable. Including the SpyderCHECKR 24 in the scene gives you more reference information. So I guess what I'm saying is that since it's more portable, you might be more likely to use it. you're more likely to have more than one, so you can have one in different camera bags or cases. So if having a target that's easy to use and carry is appealing to you, then maybe you should add the SpyderCHECKR 24 to your equipment list. Again, how does the SpyderCHECKR 24 apply a change to images? It analyzes the capture target for a particular camera and lens combination and compares it to the known values for each color patch. So let's just pick red. It's going to look at the red that's rendered in the capture, and it's going to say that red color has a particular color value. The color value should be A, and what I'm reading is A-2. So it's going to correct the color, add 2 to the red, so that it's in line with the color standard that's on the chart. That will give you consistent color from shot to shot and from camera to camera. And it makes adjustments for hue, saturation, and luminance. A lot of the products that compete in this space are only correcting for hue and saturation. They're not correcting for luminance. So you get a more robust preset from the SpyderCHECKR 24 or the 48-patch SpyderCHECKR. Some people have asked me, in fact this happened just the other day, they're doing both still photography and videography, and is this the correct target for those combined needs? And the answer is yes. SpyderCHECKR 24 makes a great location target for in-camera white balance, for visual reference, and video correction. So it's usable in all of those categories. If I had to have one color correction device in my bag, it would probably be a SpyderCHECKR 24 or a 48-patch SpyderCHECKR. There are other products that we have. We have a Spyder HD as display calibration for computer monitors and video reference displays and televisions. And so that would also be a tool that you might want to think about in terms of filling out your toolbox and getting end-to-end color management in your still and video imaging. Now, what comes in the box for the SpyderCHECKR 24? You get the SpyderCHECKR 24 card and a slipcover and a serial number. You'll need to download the software and the quick start guide and the user's guide, and the URLs are provided in the box and here on this page. I'm not going to read off a long boring list of system requirements or things like that, but it's provided right here. It's pretty normal stuff. Most of us in this audience will have what they need to get started right away with the SpyderCHECKR 24. I've included a comparison chart. Again, I'm not going to bore you. It's a little bit of an eye test. I'm not going to bore you with reading all the details here, but this will be provided in the recorded version of the webinar. And of course, you can pause it and read the details and satisfy yourself and get the information that you need. So we're getting pretty close to wrapping up. I'm going to talk a little bit about webinars coming up, and then we're going to do the SpyderCHECKR 24 giveaway. So stay with us. This is the newest edition of the Datacolor toolbox. It's for still photography and videography. So for those of you that are still photographers, don't get the idea that this is something you can't use. It's a very, very useful tool for working with a single camera or multiple cameras in still photography. And of course, it's quite useful in videography. It helps you capture consistent color from shoot to shoot, from day to day, from camera to camera. Many of us have more than one camera. You can use this on just about any digital camera that's available today and get better color out of it and more consistent color. It's compatible with mainstream software such as Adobe Photoshop, Camera Raw, Lightroom, Hasselblad Focus, and in video with DaVinci Resolve 11. This is a very thin and portable design. It's got 24 spectrally engineered color patches, which means you're going to get consistent, standardized color readings regardless of the light condition. It makes post-production much easier by letting you normalize color between cameras or from set to set or lighting condition, and you can get your color going the right way right from the start. It outperforms the competition because it offers a color patch and a gray target. and in its software features and output quality. And then, of course, the HSL preset quality is quite a bit improved. Now, we have a lot of recorded webinars online at spyder.datacolor.com. I encourage you to go and take a look at them. We don't just talk about color management. We're not quite that limited. We have recorded webinars on focus controls, remote triggering, soft proofing, screen to print match, the growth of the convergence of still and motion capture, floral and architectural photography. There's over 30 webinars recorded there. I think you really enjoy it. People do use that resource quite a bit. Our next webinar is going to be on display calibration for still and video imaging. So there is a significant difference. Some people will tell you that they have both a computer-driven display and a video-driven display at their workstation because each one of those displays has different characteristics. But we're going to talk to you about how to regulate color for video imaging on your computer. We're going to talk about regulating color for video imaging and editing on computer and a video reference display, and also on portable reference monitors that are used in the field on your camera. I'd encourage you to visit our website. Just a moment here, I need to look at something. Okay, I'd encourage you to visit our website, datacolor.com or spyder.datacolor.com. We have a blog. We have quite a few professionals that are writing for our blog, blog.datacolor.com. Do pay that a visit. I think you'll find there's also a lot of good information on there. We have a discount for you. Our discount code, which gives you 20% off of Datacolor Spyder products, except the SpyderCHECKR 24 and the Spyder HD. The code is TOOLS20. It's valid from now through August 19th. And we're going to be giving away today a SpyderCHECKR 24. And hang on a second. Let's see. The winner of the SpyderCHECKR 24, and forgive me if I mispronounce your name, Gail, is Gail Stroud. Gail, our marketing manager, Patty, will be getting in touch with you. She'll send you an email, and she'll be asking for your contact information so we can get that product out to you right away. Again, my name is David Saffer. I'm a photographer in Southern California. My website is davidsaffer.com. I'm joined by David Toby. His blog is cdtoby.wordpress.com. I want to mention something, by the way, is that if you have questions after the webinar, let's say you watch the recording in a week or tomorrow or this evening, and you have questions about what's been presented, feel free to email me at dsaffer@mac.com. Now, I get a lot of emails. It may not be possible for me to answer you immediately. If I don't answer you within 24 hours, please repeat your email and just say, well, I sent that email and I guess you didn't see it, but I do have a couple of questions. Send the question through. I'll do my best to help you. I do that for all my students. Now, let's just go and take a look at some of the questions that were on here.
There have been a number of people asking which one's the 20% gray patch, David. I've been telling them the one closest to the white patch.
Let's just go back to an illustration here so we know exactly what we're talking about. Let's find the right one.
There's been a couple asking about working with Sekonic light meters. I've been telling them we'll work closely with Sekonic and that our medium gray patch and theirs are equivalent, and that it would be a very good tool for working with Sekonic light meters.
And there's a question about, are we going to be at Photo Plus? The answer is yes.
Both of us should be there, I would hope.
Yes, I meant that in the plural.
Yes. Also,
you can use the software with the 48 color checker. The answer is yes.
Yeah, same piece of software. You just go into preferences and switch back and forth between the two settings, and it will restart itself, and you'll be in the new space.
We have a couple of minutes here. Any other questions?
Yeah, there's people asking about using the new software with a 48 patch checker. If you own a 48 patch checker and you have our software update feature enabled in preferences, it will automatically tell you, if not already, then very shortly, that there's a new update available, and you'll be able to go to our website and download it, and then you'll have the software that will work with both the 24 and the 48 patch checker from then on.
I also see a question here about natural light shooting and strobes, and both the SpyderCHECKR 24 and 48 and the Spyder Cube, both those products can be used in both natural lighting and in artificial lighting, and they're quite suitable for either purpose.
Yeah, we often get questions about mixed lighting. The answer is, there's only so much you can do to solve mixed lighting. It's an insoluble problem in many ways, but you certainly get full options for best choices about mixed lighting by using these capture products to get information about the light sources.
There's a question here about using white balance set using the card on a daily basis. I'm not so sure about a daily basis, but if you're using the gray panel to set a custom white balance, I would do that when the lighting condition changes. So for example, you're at a wedding and you're photographing indoors and you're taking group shots, say inside the church, and you white balance your camera and then you walk outdoors. I would definitely white balance the camera, even though it's 20 minutes
apart. All bets are off. Yeah.
All bets are off.
It's not a temporal thing. It's a light source thing. So
yeah.
even if it's great depending on what cameras you're shooting. If you're shooting JPEG, you have no choice. And of course, most video from DSLRs is going to be a JPEG type of capture. You have no choice but to do in-camera white balance there. If you're shooting RAW, then you could use something like the Spyder Cube that will give you information later for your post-processing and not bother with in-camera white balance, as long as people aren't going to be depending on the view on the back of your camera for much. So there's different workflows you can use.
And that reminds me, I forgot to mention something, is that when you do a custom white balance in your camera, you're not just going to get better captures, you're also going to get a better preview on your LCD. Here's the reason, is that when you white balance in the camera is generating a JPEG for your preview. Now, we all know what happens when JPEGs are generated. There's some kind of compromise in image quality. When you white balance the camera for the lighting condition, the JPEG is automatically going to improve, not just in terms of color, but also because there's less sort of over-the-top processing going on in the camera. The camera doesn't have to stretch as far to give you a preview on the back of the camera. So if you do a custom white balance, you're going to get it's also going to give you a better histogram, because the histogram comes from JPEG.
Yeah, that's the real key. The thing you tend to use on the back of your camera that's critical is the histogram to determine if you're overexposing, and you can't trust that until you've done an in-camera white balance, which you need to do with some kind of target that you're aiming at rather than random stuff in your field of view. So the real issue here is, unless you want to clamp everything you shoot down to gray in fear of overexposure, then you really need to do a custom white balance to trust the highlight warning on the back of your camera and the histogram on the back of your camera, and that's exactly where these capture tools come in.
So I see a bunch of questions about, can you get a copy of the presentation? There will be a recording of this posted on the website within a day or two. There are also webinars to come listed in the webinar section on the website at spider.datacolor.com.
There are also a lot of materials on SpyderCHECKR and SpyderCHECKR 24 and our other products available. The Spyder blog, which is from our support site, but can be accessed from our main site, and the product literature for each of the products has user guides and various items, videos. Excellent video that David Saffer made for this product is available. You'll recognize a lot of the material that was used in this webinar as being also used in that video. So there are resources there. One person did point out a resource that seems to not be available yet, which is FAQs. Our FAQs aren't accessed from the product page. They're accessed from our support site. So you kind of have to jump over to the support section to find them. And when I search for FAQs on our support site, I'm getting SpyderCHECKR FAQs now, but not yet SpyderCHECKR 24 FAQs. So while we have written and translated a whole batch of FAQs, they don't yet seem to be up on the site and available. So I'll look into that later and try to get those up as soon as possible. So I apologize that there were probably 15 or 20 questions at the end of this webinar that I did not get to answer. It's a good sign when a webinar outstrips my typing capability, but on the other hand, I apologize to anyone who didn't get a direct answer. And I hope that, that we've covered most of your questions either through other answers, many of the questions are similar or redundant, or through the content of the webinar itself. And I'm sorry that the text from the Q&A does not actually get captured into the recorded webinar. So anything there that you wanted, any of the URLs I posted there, you'd want to copy down now because they won't be part of the recorded video that you can access later.
Okay, well, I want to thank everybody for attending. I certainly enjoyed it. I hope that you'll return for our next webinar on display calibration for still and video. We have other webinars coming up this fall, so watch the website for the schedule, and hope that you'll join us next time. Have a great day.